The voice came through my car speakers like a confession meant for someone else, a podcast episode, a late-night drive. Her laugh, unmistakable. I pulled over without realizing it, hazard lights blinking, engine ticking like a metronome for my pulse. "I never thought I'd actually say this out loud," she said, breathy, amused. "But yeah, I cheated, for months." The host chuckled. My wife kept talking. I stared at the dashboard, hands frozen on the wheel, as if motion itself might confirm this was real. The world didn't explode. No screaming tires, no dramatic collapse, just silence. She spoke about secrecy like it was a hobby, about desire like it was an accident. She didn't say my name. She didn't have to. I felt myself being erased, sentence by sentence. I listened to the whole thing. That was my first mistake. By the time the episode ended, something inside me had gone very still. Not broken, not angry, quiet. I turned the car around and drove home, already rehearsing the face I would wear. I watched her the next morning like a stranger renting space in my life. She hummed while making coffee, kissed my cheek, asked if I slept well. I said yes. Inside, denial tried to negotiate. Maybe it wasn't her, maybe a voice alike, maybe satire, maybe fiction. But she checked her phone twice before answering a text. She angled the screen away. She smiled at nothing. The podcast details replayed in my head. Timelines, locations, a creative she met through work, a secret apartment, laughter where guilt should have lived. She spoke on that show with freedom because she thought I'd never hear it. That realization hurt more than the affair. I didn't confront her. I didn't even ask a question. I started paying attention, the quiet kind. I became observant, surgical. Phone records confirmed late-night calls routed through apps. Credit card statements showed rent payments that weren't ours, a storage unit, flowers never brought home. I smiled more, listened better, played the role of the man she thought she was deceiving. At night, while she slept, I replayed the podcast and transcribed it, every word, every laugh, every pause. Patterns emerged. She wasn't confessing out of guilt. She was performing, rebranding herself as honest while continuing to lie. I scheduled a consultation with a lawyer, then another with the podcast network's legal department under a different name. I learned what counted as public record and what didn't. The rage stayed buried, compacted into focus. I didn't need violence. I needed timing. I waited until the episode went viral, until friends started texting her congratulations for being brave, until sponsors dropped subtle comments, until her name became searchable. Then I slid a printed transcript across the table at dinner. She froze mid-bite. "What's this?" she asked. I didn't answer. She read, slowly. Her face drained of color when she reached the part where she joked about the husband. She looked up at me. "How long?" she whispered. "Long enough," I said. Her hands shook. Tears surfaced on cue. Apologies lined up like excuses rehearsed too late. I stayed calm. That scared her more. I told her I wasn't there to forgive. I was there to inform. The network had been notified of a conflict of interest, undisclosed relationships, contractual violations. The sponsor calls had already begun. The creative had received a letter from my lawyer. I had documented everything, not to destroy her, to remove her control. She cried, bargained, reached for me. I stood up. "I didn't expose you," I said. "You did that yourself. I just made sure the truth stayed loud." I walked out while she was still speaking. The apartment felt lighter without her voice. I didn't feel victorious. I felt finished. Betrayal teaches you where your power was misplaced. Revenge, done quietly, teaches you how to take it back. I deleted the podcast from my phone. Some stories aren't meant to be replayed. They're meant to be ended. and I ended mine the moment I stopped needing her to understand why.